New footage of Charlie Kirk's security moments before his shooting has just surfaced, and it's raising serious questions about what really happened that day.
I was closer than any of the students, closer than maybe one security guard between him and I.
Witness testimonies are now telling a different story than what we've been told, and when experts started placing the details together, what they uncovered was explosive.
September 10th, 2025, Utah Valley University, Orem. The crowd was restless but excited. Hundreds of students filled the main auditorium, their phones held high, recording the conservative commentator everyone had come to see, Charlie Kirk. The stage lights burned bright, cameras were rolling, and security stood along the aisles in quiet formation. No one in that room could have predicted how fast the next 8 seconds would change everything. At 7:42 p.m., the first sound wasn't a gunshot. It was a feedback whine of a microphone, a sharp squeal that made everyone flinch. Then, a half second later, a single, deafening crack tore through the building. The shot came from somewhere outside, sharp, clean, deliberate. Chaos followed. Students screamed. Chairs toppled. A girl dropped her phone, and the live stream cut to black. Charlie Kirk stumbled backward. For a moment, it looked like he was reacting to the noise, until he collapsed. Security rushed the stage, shouting commands, trying to clear the area. The auditorium became a blur of movement. People running, crying, pushing toward the exits. Outside, sirens began to rise in the distance. Within minutes, campus police locked down the perimeter. Witnesses said they saw someone, a dark figure, on the rooftop of a parking structure across the street. When officers arrived, they found the weapon, a bolt-action Mauser rifle, resting against a vent. No shell casing, no shooter, just a set of footprints leading toward an emergency ladder, and a single palm print on the rifle's case. By dawn, the FBI had taken over. They called it a professional hit. But that raised a question no one could answer. Why? Kirk's events always drew protests. But this was something else. Cold, calculated, executed with precision. The kind of act that doesn't just happen, it's planned that night. As investigators combed through footage, a detective reportedly said something that would later haunt the case file. Whoever pulled this off knew our blind spots better than we did. And he was right. Because what no one realized then, what would only come out nearly a year later, was that the real story didn't start with a shot. It started 30 minutes before it was fired, when 2 members of Kirk's security detail suddenly walked off their assigned posts. In the days after the shooting, the university campus turned into a fortress. News vans lined the streets, and reporters fought for any scrap of information. But behind the yellow tape, investigators faced something stranger than anyone expected. The crime scene looked too clean. The bullet that struck Kirk had been fired from over 300 yards away, a difficult shot even for trained marksmen. Yet the shooter left behind no DNA, no fingerprints, no shell casing. Only the rifle and a partial palm print that, at the time, matched no one in any federal database. It was almost like whoever did this wanted the scene to look solvable, but not be solved. By the third day, the FBI released a still frame taken from security footage. A shadowy figure running down a service road, wearing a gray hoodie and black gloves. The footage ended abruptly when the person turned a corner, as if the camera had been deliberately disabled just after. The agency labeled it the primary suspect, but people online weren't buying it. Reddit threads exploded. Theories began circulating, some saying the shooter wasn't an outsider at all. One theory stood out. A man claiming to be a volunteer at the event posted anonymously that the security layout had been changed the morning of the speech. He said 2 guards were reassigned without explanation, and one section of the perimeter, the west lot, was left unmonitored for nearly 20 minutes. That same west lot faced a rooftop, where the rifle was later found. When journalists pressed for confirmation, the private security company contracted for the event, Shield Line Protective Services, refused to comment, but records later revealed something unusual. The company's main contact listed for that night, a Mark Benson, didn't exist in their employee database. No address, no tax ID, nothing. Someone had signed in under a false name, and whoever that person was had direct access to the security manifest, The same document, investigators say, was altered hours before Kirk stepped on stage. Meanwhile, FBI analysts were reviewing the footage from campus cameras, nearly 80 hours worth. One technician noticed something odd. In 3 different angles, the same white utility van appeared near restricted areas, always idling, never moving, never approached by police. It was parked less than 200 feet from the rooftop. When they traced the plates, they hit another dead end. The registration led to a dissolved company in Nevada, one that had shut down 6 years before the shooting. It was clear now this wasn't chaos. It was choreography, and every step, every decision, every camera angle seemed to be part of design no one yet understood. Because the van that shouldn't have been there might have held more than just tools. 3 weeks after the shooting, local investigators got a call from a man named Ethan Cole, a part-time janitor who worked in one of the administration buildings across from the auditorium. He claimed he had something the FBI forgot to check. When agents arrived, he handed them a small, worn-out flash drive. "I found it in a maintenance locker," Ethan said. "It's not mine, but it's got video from that night." The drive contained over 40 minutes of raw security footage, a view from a maintenance camera facing the west lot. It wasn't part of the university's main system, which explained why the FBI hadn't seen it before. And what it captured was something the official timeline had completely missed. At 7:12 p.m., half an hour before the shot, a white utility van, the same one later seen in multiple clips, rolled quietly into frame. 2 men stepped out. Both wore black tactical vests marked Event Security. They weren't part of the verified team roster. One walked toward the auditorium. The other remained by the van, pacing, glancing up at the same rooftop, where the rifle was later discovered. Then, at 7:28 p.m., something even stranger happened. 2 of Kirk's official security guards walked over to the van. A short conversation followed, muffled but visible through body language. One guard handed the man near the van a small, metallic case. Then they both walked away, leaving their assigned zones completely unmanned. For minutes later, the camera caught the guard from the van disappearing into a stairwell that led to the rooftop. That clip changed everything. It meant the shooter wasn't an outsider slipping in unnoticed. Someone authorized had access. Someone who knew the layout, the blind spots, and the exact timing of Kirk's movements. When the footage leaked online weeks later, social media went nuclear. True crime forums tore it apart frame by frame, arguing over what the metallic case could be. A rifle component? A communication device? Or payment? But the biggest question wasn't what was in the case. It was who the guards were. Shield Line Protective Services denied any knowledge of those men. Their employee logs of that night showed all personnel accounted for, which meant either the logs were falsified or someone higher up had edited them later. Then came the first verified break. Facial recognition from the van footage matched one of the men to a former private contractor, Logan Pierce, dishonorably discharged from the military 4 years prior after a failed weapons transport investigation in Texas. He vanished from public records soon after. Until now, investigators traced the van's route through nearby traffic cameras. It had entered the city from Interstate 15, but never exited. The van, like Logan Pierce, simply disappeared. But what investigators didn't know, not yet, was that there was another camera across the street from the auditorium that had captured even more. And that footage would shake the entire case wide open, because it showed Kirk's own security team acting suspiciously 30 minutes before the shot was ever fired. It was early October 2025 when a 14-second clip surfaced on X, formerly Twitter. The video, grainy yet unmistakably real, showed what appeared to be Charlie Kirk's private security team moving erratically seconds before the chaos began. One guard turned his head toward the crowd, as if expecting something. Another reached subtly into his jacket. Then, a sudden blur, a crack of sound, and the screen cut to black. At first, people dismissed it as an edited fake, but digital forensic experts confirmed. The metadata matched the original timestamp of the Turning Point USA event in Dallas. The realization sent shockwaves across the internet. How had no one noticed this angle before? and who was behind the camera. Within hours, major networks were scrambling for the rights to air it. Independent analysts began frame-by-frame breakdowns, spotting a reflection of a third figure. Someone standing behind the press barricade. Someone never logged in the security manifest. That single discovery reopened a conversation law enforcement thought they had closed. But then came the twist. The original uploader of the video, an account called at Truth Unfold 77, vanished overnight. Profile deleted. Email unreachable. Within days, a Reddit user claimed to found a cached version of the account showing a Texas-based journalist, Rebecca Kane, who had gone missing 2 weeks earlier while investigating inconsistencies in the police timeline. Suddenly, what seemed like a simple question about security footage became a chilling web of disappearances, cover-ups, and silenced witnesses. Was the footage released intentionally to expose something? Or was it a trap to draw attention away from something even darker? By mid-October 2025, online communities were split. Some believed the clip proved there was an inside operation. Others thought it was a carefully planted deep fake meant to spark chaos. But one thing was certain, whatever happened that day at Charlie Kirk's event wasn't just random violence. It was a story being rewritten in real time, and every frame of that footage was a clue. And as new leaks surfaced from anonymous insiders, one phrase kept repeating in comment threads and podcasts alike. If this footage is real, then everything we thought we knew was a lie. Rebecca Kane wasn't just another journalist chasing headlines. She was known for chasing ghosts in the system. The 34-year-old investigative reporter from Austin, Texas, had made a name uncovering corruption in small-town law enforcement. Her work was sharp, precise, and fearless. In late September 2025, Rebecca had begun quietly digging into what she described in an encrypted email to a colleague as a staged security event with national implications. No one knew she was referring to the Dallas shooting involving Charlie Kirk. Not until footage surfaced 2 weeks later, uploaded from an account that digital traces later tied directly to her. Before she vanished, Rebecca was last seen leaving her apartment complex around 10:42 p.m. Security footage showed her carrying a small backpack and a press badge clipped to her jacket. She waved to her neighbor, smiled, and got into her silver Honda Civic. That was the last verified sighting of her. Her car was found 3 days later, abandoned off Highway 67, just outside Waxahachie. The driver's seat was pushed all the way back, as if someone taller had been inside. Her laptop and phone were missing, but investigators discovered a small USB drive hidden under the dashboard panel. When tech forensics accessed it, they found fragments of corrupted files and a partially recovered folder labeled SEC_protocols_event_then_02_25. Inside, there were screenshots of internal communications between private contractors and local authorities, suggesting that security assignments had been switched last minute, without the knowledge of event organizers. A single line from one email stood out. Clearance approved. Media not be informed. The FBI reportedly took over the investigation, but sources close to the department leaked that Rebecca's notes linked one of the substitute guards to a defense subcontractor previously flagged for federal violations. The deeper agents looked, the murkier it became. Then, a second twist, just when the public was demanding answers. A video appeared on a small alternative news channel. The host claimed to have received a voicemail from Rebecca, time-stamped a day after she was reported missing. Her voice was shaky, whispering, "If anything happens to me, don't trust the footage. It's not what it looks like." Within hours, the clip vanished from the internet. By the end of October 2025, Rebecca Kane was officially declared missing. Unofficially, her name became synonymous with the words "truth buried alive." By the first week in November 2025, the story had grown too big to ignore. Major media outlets were now cautiously mentioning Rebecca Kane's name, though most avoided linking her directly to the Charlie Kirk shooting. But behind closed doors, something strange was happening. Files, backups, and cloud storage connected to Rebecca's investigation were disappearing one by one. Her editor at the Austin Daily Chronicle, Mark Hensley, tried to access the newsroom's shared drive one morning only to find Rebecca's entire research folder gone. The IT department confirmed that the deletion came from an internal system, yet no one could trace which account initiated it. Even odder, The newspaper's off-site backup drive had been corrupted the same night. At first, Mark thought it was a simple data breach. Then, the Chronicle's server logs revealed that the IP responsible for the deletion originated from a government domain, one tied to the Department of Homeland Security. When he called to inquire, they denied any connection. Must be spoofed, they said. But Mark had seen enough in his 20 years in journalism to recognize when something wasn't adding up. Meanwhile, independent investigators online began piecing together fragments from Rebecca's leaked USB drive. Hidden deep inside a recovered zip file was a set of coded coordinates, leading to a warehouse outside Arlington, supposedly used for event storage. When local reporters tried to enter, they found the property abandoned. But what caught their attention was a security notice on the door. Property of Orbis Tactical Solutions. That name matched the defense subcontractor Rebecca had been investigating before she vanished. 2 nights later, the server of an independent news blog covering her story went offline. The site's admin claimed their backups were wiped remotely. And then came the second twist. A cybersecurity analyst named Eli Navarro, who had been decoding Rebecca's encrypted files, posted a short clip on social media. In it, he claimed to have uncovered proof that the footage wasn't just altered, it was reinserted into the public database weeks after the event. 30 minutes later, his account was suspended. His apartment in Houston was reportedly broken into, but nothing was stolen, except his hard drives. Now the pattern was undeniable. Every trace of evidence tied to Rebecca's work was being systematically erased. But the more the files vanished, the louder the public grew. And in the chaos of speculation and fear, one question echoed across the nation. What could possibly be in that footage worth erasing an entire trail of truth? The Arlington warehouse wasn't abandoned after all. When a freelance journalist named Caleb Knox decided to dig deeper, he equipped himself with a hidden camera and a rented delivery van. His plan was simple: pose as a courier dropping off a mislabeled shipment. But as he approached the warehouse gates, a sense of unease crawled over him. The barbed wire fencing wasn't just for show. It hummed faintly with live current. And the guards out front? They weren't your average night watchman. Their vests bore no company insignia, only small metallic patches reading Contractor 09 and Contractor 12. Caleb kept rolling. A man with an earpiece scanned his fake delivery form, then waved him in. Inside, what looked like an old storage facility was actually a state-of-the-art surveillance hub. Rows of monitors displayed multiple camera feeds, some showing streets and crowds that looked eerily familiar, political rallies, protests, and yes, footage from the day of the Charlie Kirk event. But one screen froze him in his tracks. It showed the unedited raw footage of the incident. In this version, Charlie's security detail moved differently. The shooter's angle was wrong. And in the bottom left corner, the timestamp was 3 days before the actual event date. Caleb realized what Rebecca Kane must have found. This wasn't a simple shooting. It was a reconstruction. Before he could process more, a sharp voice echoed behind him. "You shouldn't be here." 2 guards appeared. Caleb instinctively dropped the box and bolted for the exit. Sirens blared. His van fishtailed onto the main road, tires screaming, and he could see black SUVs gaining on him in the rear-view mirror. He ditched the van near a service tunnel and disappeared on foot. That night, a post appeared on an encrypted forum known as Deep Trace. Under the alias he could witness, Caleb uploaded a still image from the footage he saw. It showed a man in a dark suit, badge visible on his belt, standing beside the supposed shooter. Within minutes, the post went viral. But the response wasn't what he expected. Anonymous users flooded the thread claiming it was AI fabricated, that Deep Trace had been compromised. Then, moderators deleted the post altogether. Caleb tried to re-upload it, but his account was already suspended. Hours later, a message appeared in his encrypted inbox. "If you value your life, stop digging." She didn't listen either. The she could only mean one person, Rebecca Kane. By morning, Caleb's apartment was empty. His neighbors told police they saw men in suits entering around 3 a.m., then leaving quietly. And by sunrise, Orbis Tactical's website went offline. The pieces were aligning, but the truth was still buried, deeper than anyone imagined. 3 weeks after Caleb's disappearance, a video appeared on a small encrypted Telegram channel known only among data leakers and freelance investigators. It was labeled the deleted sequence. At first, no one believed it. Dozens of fakes had already circulated. Deep fakes, doctor clips, even full AI simulations. But this one was different. Its metadata traced back to a government-issued Sony EX700, the same camera model used by Charlie Kirk's event media team. The footage was shaky, raw, and clearly uncut. It began 10 minutes before the shooting, showing the crowd buzzing, the flags waving, and the stage being prepped. But then, the camera slowly panned, almost deliberately, toward the far right corner of the security perimeter. There stood a man who didn't belong there. He wasn't wearing the same tactical vest as the others. His comms earpiece was a different color. And most notably, he kept glancing at his wrist, not at a watch, but at a small reflective device that flickered faintly like a lens. Then came the first shock. A voice in the comms feed whispered, "Stage clear. Confirm shadow angle." The camera tilted, catching a distorted reflection from a nearby truck window. That reflection showed a second shooter, positioned behind the bleachers. Not where the official report said. Not even close. Seconds later, gunfire. The chaos unfolded. The screen jolted. Screams filled the background, and then, freeze frame. A timestamp flashed. September 10th, 2025. 16 hours, 22 minutes, and 4 seconds. But the official shooting time was 16 hours, 29 minutes, and 58 seconds. 7 minutes off. Someone had recorded the rehearsal before the event. That's when the real terror hit online investigators. The event hadn't been spontaneous. It had been scripted, filmed, and partially staged. Whether as a drill or something darker, no one knew. But this footage proved that what America saw live on broadcast wasn't the full truth. Within hours, major outlets tried to debunk it, calling it deeply misleading. But before they could finish their statements, two well-known journalists from the Atlanta Chronicle, both who'd reviewed the original video, were found dead in a car accident off I-40 near Flagstaff, Arizona. The file disappeared from Telegram soon after. And then at 3:17 a.m., subscribers of Dark Patterns received a strange notification. "We have the backup. It's worse than anyone thinks." The screen faded to black. And just like that, the internet realized the story wasn't over. It was only beginning. When Dark Patterns posted that midnight message, no one expected what would follow. Within 24 hours, a 1.8 gigabyte file titled Kirk_cover_funnel.ov appeared on an Onion routed server. It contained the full 47-minute raw feed from a security cam position inside the control booth. Footage no one outside the internal team should have had access to. The video confirmed what the leaked sequence hinted at. The event wasn't a random hit. The shooter's movements synced perfectly with instructions given over a private radio channel labeled Layer C. What stunned investigators most was hearing a familiar voice giving those commands. It belonged to Ethan Miles, Kirk's head of security, who'd vanished hours after the shooting. The feed ended abruptly as the lights cut out, and a reflection on the booth glass caught something chilling, a face wearing a comm badge identical to federal tactical units. Within hours of the file's release, servers hosting it were pulled offline. Several digital forensics experts who tried to mirror the data reported receiving federal cease and desist notices. Yet a small group of anonymous tech analysts managed to retrieve fragments, showing that the original file contained 5 additional minutes never uploaded. Data blocks labeled Scene Delta. Rumors now claim those missing minutes reveal who funded the operation, and that the entire event ties into a broader network manipulating political narratives through stage violence. The question remains, who controls Scene Delta?